We know from the last video that a price fall will cause transaction quantity to fall from the original market equilibrium transaction quantity Qm to a smaller quantity Qd on this diagram. This will result in an excess supply or surplus in the market, as at the price PF, the price fall, quantity supplied Qs exceeds the quantity demanded Qd. And the size of this surplus is Qs minus Qd, this distance here. Let's now analyze the change in consumer and producer surplus. Producer surplus may increase, but only for producers who can sell their output. Producers who can sell receive a higher price per unit. This increases the difference between the price that they receive and the marginal cost of production. However, due to the excess supply, some producers cannot sell their goods, and unsold output generates no revenue or profits. Smaller or less efficient companies may exit from this market completely. Overall, producer surplus may rise for successful sellers, but overall gains are limited by unsold output. That's why we see the producer surplus in this diagram changing from this area here, D plus E, to this area here, B plus D. We describe the change in producer surplus as a loss of area E, but a gain in area B. On the other hand, consumer surplus falls as consumers now pay a higher price and purchase a smaller quantity, and the gap between their willingness to pay and their actual payments narrows. So that's why in the diagram we see that the consumer surplus changes from this area here to just area A. The change in consumer surplus is negative. Consumer surplus falls by area B and area C. The change in total economic surplus, as we can tell from the sum of these two terms, is negative. That's how we find Debit loss as area C and E, this triangular area here. But we can also view this from another perspective. For example, at the original equilibrium, the free market equilibrium at point E, supply cuts demand and resources are allocated efficiently. Total economic surplus is represented by this large triangular area here. But with a binding or effective price fall, the total economic surplus changes to area A plus B plus D as the traded units falls from QM to QD. So the decrease in total economic surplus can be represented by this area. So this area of debt loss arises intuitively because there exist units that consumers value more than the cost of producing them, but which are not traded due to the artificially high price. This foregone transaction reduces total economic surplus, and as the reduction in total surplus is not offset by gains elsewhere, the debt loss occurs, and it leads to allocative inefficiency.